NHL Nightly with your host, the sports, a.k.a. Peter the Bowski, a.k.a. Jeremiah Maxwell. And with him, as always, maybe Pearlo, Wisdom, and Rico in Barrie. Hey, everybody. Welcome to NHL Nightly. I am Playoff Edition, Eastern Conference, Western Conference version. I'm Jeremiah Maxwell. With me, as always, Steve Duncan, a.k.a. Pearlo Wisdom, one of the best handicappers out there. And our good friend in Southern California, for the time being, Occupancy. How's it going, buddy?
How's it going?
We don't have a ton to talk about, do we? Nothing's happened since the last time we've been on the show. So we had a game 7. Edmonton wins. I was wrong. I thought Canucks would finish this series off. They win game 5. Usually that's a good indicator, but they do not. The Oilers win the game, and they pretty much win it convincingly, other than a late rush there from the Vancouver Canucks. So they will play the Dallas Stars and the Eastern Conference Finals, which gets underway tomorrow, if I'm correct. We have the Panthers and the Rangers. I don't have any lines or anything for that, but I know the Panthers are the favorites in this series, and I know the Dallas Stars are the favorites in the series. So anyway, yeah. Hey, Saad, appreciate you. Daniel Barrie. Yep, Tuesday. This will be the only episode this week, guys. So we got a special one. Occupancy was kind enough to come on today. We couldn't do one yesterday. And maybe we'll see Rico and maybe we'll see Mike, but we'll see. But there was big news today. There was a trade in the NHL. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Ryan McDonagh goes back to Tampa Bay. I like the move for Tampa Bay. I thought he fit in so well there. He was like a perfect fit for them. What are your thoughts?
I think it's great. I think the last thing I saw, and could be rumor, but was that they were trying to make cap space for a bigger piece to come in to Nashville. So maybe Trotz is doing the works, but for McDonagh, I think it's a team he's familiar with, and he's probably coming down to his last couple seasons, or and wants to finish off with the team that he got to win the cup with. So he's got the relationship already with a lot of locker room, so I think it's great.
2 cups. He won 2 cups with, right?
2.
Yeah. Sad says he wants the Stars to win the series in 4 games. I hear you, Sad. Sad being a Vancouver Canucks fan. Sad, I was with you, man. I really wanted the Canucks to win. I just loved their story this year. I thought they were a great team, and they led the league, their division all year, and they never gave it up. It was just such a big hit to lose Besser and Demko, and the what fashion they did. So, Pearlo, what did you think of the McDonagh trade?
Well, I mean, he had one of the best years he's had in quite a while, actually, in Nashville. So, it's great, but really, doesn't it spell the end for Stamkos? Like, how are they going to be able to do it? He's making $6 million.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a very small amount of money for them. I think he's not going to take a big deal, in my opinion. I think he's going to take like a $4 million, like 5-year deal or something that's really not going to affect them at all.
Let me check this again. I thought he still had term.
No, he's a UFA, man. He's a UFA this year.
UFA though?
Yeah, he's the big UFA. He's a big UFA this year. So the unrestricted free agents this year are Steven Stamkos, Sam Reinhart, Matt Murray, Tyler Myers, Jake Gensel, Adam Henrique, Anthony Mantha, Tyler Bertuzzi. That's just to name a few of the things. Well, Sad, you just led me right into the next thing. Sad goes, what do you think?
Cap Friendly says he has term till 2026.
You're talking about McDonagh.
Yeah, McDonagh. Yeah.
But not Steven Stamkos.
Oh, Stamkos. Yeah. That's what I thought you were saying McDonagh didn't have term. So
No. I thought you were talking about how they weren't going to be able to keep Stamkos. They can keep Stamkos. Yeah. They're going to know exactly what they're going to have to pay him.
You think he's just going to lowball that much?
Dude, does he need the money? He's made over $100 million. I think he's fine.
I don't know. We'll see, but
yeah.
So
So
it's going to be a heavy low ball, but maybe you're right.
We'll definitely have time to dissect it. I think there's going to be a few more trades this offseason. We are not far away from the draft, gentlemen. Like, not far away at all. That leads to me. Let's just go with what Sod here says. Sod in the chat, I'm going to put you up on the thing. He says, what do you guys think of the Craig Berube joining the Maple Leafs? So today, Craig Berube was officially introduced by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Pearlo, I'm going to start with you because you got shortchanged on the McDonough thing. But what do you think of Berube in Toronto?
I mean, it's fine. He's a good coach. But, I mean, if they don't, there's got to be more work than that done with that lineup. I don't care who you throw in there. You could throw Brendan Moore, whatever. You keep that defense, ain't no coach getting that team to the cup. Not one coach. So they've got to work. They've got to do some work on that defense. I criticized Sheldon Keefe quite a bit earlier on, but actually after the Riley situation happened, I actually was kind of enamored with Keefe. I kind of liked the way he turned things around and got them fighting through the rest of the season. It wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good. But I mean, I don't mind Berube. He's a good coach. He won a cup. Who am I to say, right? So he could bring a team to a cup. He already did it, but I don't think anybody's bringing that team as it's structured right now to a cup. Coach, not a single coach.
I expect change. I expect that we'll see more with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Pearlo. I think based on what I'm reading and what I'm hearing from Chris Johnson, Frank Saravelli, Elliot Friedman, it's a large chance that we will see Mitch Marner. We're going to talk about that, but Occupancy, go ahead and give us your thoughts on Craig Berube in Toronto.
Mostly echoing Pearlo on this one. I think he's a good fit for the job, and I think it's going to be a personnel. What pieces are they going to put, to fit his system, right? I'm sure he's going to be working with the managers and all that, but I mean, really, Pearlo hit it. I think is a good fit.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to be on the same par with you guys. I thought it was probably the incorrect hire. I thought New Jersey was a great fit for him. I thought that team probably needed a coach like him a little bit more than Toronto. I actually think Keefe was a good coach as far as it comes to the defensive aspects of the game. I don't think that the grit and toughness was anything that Toronto team lacked this year. I actually thought they showed a lot of it. I thought if you could get any coach in there in Toronto, my opinion, and it's just my stupid opinion, I think they should have gotten Joel Quenneville. And I understand there's some, he's being blackballed by the NHL, which is actually kind of ridiculous. If you read the whole report, I mean, Quenneville didn't have very much to do with this whole situation in Chicago. I mean, he'd already been a coach I firmly believe that Florida might have already won a championship with him there. I don't know. I just think he is one of those coaches. I have actually met him in person years ago and think he is a very class guy. And I don't think he'd knowingly do anything that would harm another player, just in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, the Leafs have Berube. I mean, now that leaves, really, guys, we still don't know who. It sounds like Hiller is going to take LA, but still nothing's for certain. New Jersey still doesn't have a coach. I don't know what they're doing because they got far with Berube. They got far with McClellan. They even interviewed Keefe. So New Jersey still doesn't have a coach. Seattle still doesn't have a coach. Columbus still doesn't have a coach or a president or a GM, or I don't know if John Davidson's staying on as the president, but they don't have a GM. They don't have a coach. Now, what I've been told is Woodcroft is coaching over in Czech Republic for the World Championships, and he could be one of the hires for those teams. I think New Jersey, it sounds like. So
I've heard heavy rumors about Keith going to New Jersey.
Oh, you've heard Keefe to New Jersey. See, I've heard
Yeah.
I've heard Woodcroft to New Jersey. See, Woodcroft to New Jersey makes a whole lot more sense to me than Keefe. In fact, I think Keefe has 2 more years left on his Leafs deal that he would lose if he takes another job. So I almost think it's almost idiotic for him to do anything for 2 seasons. But anyway, that's my thing. So, okay. So we all talked about McDonough. We talked about Berube. Mitch Marner is in the news because Barry Trotz got asked a question because of the trade to McDonough. They have like $21 million in cap space. Trotz said he was not a free agent. He couldn't comment, but they haven't talked to Toronto. That doesn't mean somebody in the organization hasn't talked to them. Chris Johnson said he thinks more than likely he gets traded. He thinks Tavares probably not. Salty. Awesome, man. That is great news. Salty just telling us we're going to get to some Mem Cup stuff. He just got his uniform and credentials for the Memorial Cup. Can't wait. That is outstanding. Salty, congrats, man. That's awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about that, actually, because I know we're going to have the Mem Cups coming up here. So Frank Cervelli said he thinks it's 5% chance Marner stays in Toronto.
Wow.
Yes, Derek. It's back there, buddy. Reverse retro, Dallas Stars. Yep. Pretty sick. I loved it. It's my favorite put out in a long time. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Marner being traded? Where would you see him being traded to? He's obviously going to have some say with the no move occupancy. Why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, look, he's still great talent. I got criticized heavily the playoffs this year. When you have your own teammates kind of calling you a whiner on the bench. I mean, I know that's kind of the the vibe maybe on the bench, but it's still a weird look. It's still, anytime you have your own players kind of criticizing you like that in the public is just something's up, I think, really, with that. I don't know. I don't follow that market enough to kind of really know if that's just how it is and he's just kind of always going to be this type, or is he really going to make a move? The only other rumor I saw was Utah trade to get Cooley and maybe O'Brien.
Yeah,
or
they're not
Krause
trading Cooley.
No, I don't know. That was the other, maybe some Leafs fan put that up, but no. Yeah. All in all, look, I think Mitch. He's a personality too, right? He kind of represents, I think, this younger NHLer that does the gritty and kind of plays that way, and could he be a top NHLer one day if he kind of maybe straightens out? Sure, but does he fit in Toronto? I don't have that answer.
Pearlo.
Well, I think that's going to have a lot to do with Berube. If he wants to, I mean, Marner is a great two-way player. I think he gets a lot of shit. I think he gets more shit than he deserves, to tell you the honest truth. I know he doesn't put up much points in the playoffs all that much, but I mean, when you've got a defense like that and you have a mindset of Marner, it's kind of hard to put up points. You're spending so much time trying to make up for your defense, and by the time you get to the offensive zone, you're freaking done. And that's the problem with Toronto. But if they want to trade him, then okay, cool. He is making a lot of money, $10.5 million. If they decide to go that direction, I actually think that the best place for him would be Chicago. They have the cap space. They need a guy to feed Bedard. He'd be a perfect fit there.
Do you think he waves to go there, though, Pearlo?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. When you tell somebody we want to move you, like, are you not going to wave? Like,
no, I'm
really
saying though, I think,
wave,
and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'm saying I think he's going to have a little bit of say in where he goes. And
yeah, but you get to play with the new. I mean, the Matthews, of the future here. in Chicago. And maybe you're not going to win right away, but I mean, you're going to be able to you're going to play with a generational player there in Chicago. I don't know if there's too many options. I honestly don't think Utah is going to be in on it. They got too many of that same type of player already with Keller and Michelli and, small forwards like that. They need size up front and they need defense big time. Like, I don't think Utah is going to be in as much as people think. And there's not too many teams that are going to be able to take on that salary. So
yeah, no,
you'd have to take players back, and you have to find a team that's got a lot of defense. What team has a lot of defense besides Dallas and Vegas right now? They would want to trade for a Marner. I don't think the market out there is going to be all that huge for him. And I think when they try to go out to do it, they better temper their enthusiasm and try to just get rid of the contract and hopefully get, a couple seconds and a first. And I think the return for Marner, the team, the fans in Toronto are not going to be too happy with it, honestly. Not because I don't think Marner is very good. It's just there's not too many teams out there that are going to be able to give what Toronto needs back in return. If you're not getting defensemen for Marner, then you're not making that trade. There's no reason to do anything else but that as far as I'm concerned. You got to get some solid D or a goaltender or something like that in that deal. So, and if I look up and down the league, I don't see that much out there to do that.
Yeah, so I'll drop you out here real quick, Occupancy, just in case, and we'll bring you back when you're back. Just real quick. So a lot of the proposals I'm hearing are involving UC Saros, one combination of Philip Tomasino or Luke Evangelista, maybe Joachim Kimmel. Let's get Occupancy back in the stage here. Those are the things I'm seeing for like Marner and potentially Yarncroc.
That one makes some sense. The Saros.
Yeah, Saros is a good get for the Leafs. I think you could keep Wall. You're not keeping Samsonov. Yeah, I got your message, Occupancy. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Time for an upgrade. Mine too, man.
I just filled it to the brim. I put too much in.
My computer. And I don't do much with it anymore, but it's about time. I should be doing this show from my phone, honestly. Once I'll probably end up getting one of those VR things that Apple's making, and will be how I do the show, honestly. Because you can do your whole face and stuff. So yeah, Tim York is in the chat. Tim, thanks for being with us. He says, then pay Saros 5 times 6 or something. Yeah, something like that. Man, potentially. Saros is a little bit older, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I also think we may not see anything till after July 1st when Marner's the bulk of his I think he's paid majority of his salary is in bonus. So that'll be the case. So yeah, I don't think Toronto will sign Matt Murray. So it looks like we are going to have Rico here. So we'll definitely get his thoughts on this, because him being the resident Maple Leafs fan. Just real quick. So I could see Nashville. I love your idea of Chicago, Pearlo. Maybe another potential is San Jose. The problem is they really just don't have anything to give up. Maybe Logan Couture or something comes back. It's a little bit of a salary swap, but I think if you're Toronto, you probably don't want that player. He just can't stay. Again, though, I mean, if he's not healthy, it's LTIR for them. So maybe it's just a matter of getting something back in return. Yeah, so Jared, we haven't previewed the conference finals. We'll get to that, but I appreciate you for popping in your thing. Yeah, 875-ish is what Tim York's saying in bonuses. Yeah, I could look it up, but so anyway, there's all kinds of rumors. I'm excited because I love the off-season move stuff. It's always fun to see where players go, we're going to definitely see movement this year. Yeah, Derek, Carolina has 8 UFAs and like 5 RFAs. So it's going to be real interesting with them. I guarantee they bring back Jarvis. It looks like they're going to bring back Chatfield. It's going to be super interesting. So, and yeah, I don't disagree with you, Saad. I do think Toronto needs a goaltender. So I think if they could trade Marner and get a goaltender back, that's why I think a lot of people think Nashville makes a lot of sense, because they have Askarov playing in the Milwaukee Admirals in their situation there. So they kind of have a guy in the wing ready to go that's really played a little bit already at the NHL level, quite a bit so far. So like they could probably sacrifice Saros, I think. I mean, look, boy, Nashville, they go from Rene to Saros, and if this Askarov is half as good as those guys, they've basically gone from 3 great. I mean, Rene is a Hall of Fame goalie, and Saros isn't far from that. So as far as just how well he's his play. So if you want to have some fun, you go to the armchair GM section of Cap Friendly, and you can tell Leaf fans rue the day because my Marner deal is a joke. They should not trade him. Berube team, all the stuff that needs to happen next summer, all Leaf stuff. Nashville has interest in Marner. Fun proposal. I like the Canucks. The Canucks are going to be an interesting team next year. I wonder if they don't struggle a little bit more to be as dominant a team as they were this year, because they are going to have some free agents and they're going to lose some stuff. This guy says for the Canucks, trade Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson for Elias Pettersson. Okay. And then trade Thatcher Demko, Noah Juleson, and Ilya Mikheyev to Detroit for Sherratt, Hole, and Lyon with 1.7. I don't think that Vancouver would make that trade. Rasmus Ristolainen for Cole McWard and Jet Wu with RFA rights. And then Connor Garland, Kravatsov, and Willander for Nick Ehlers. So this guy, and then Joe, he's just basically trying to, and then Val Nichushkin, Philip Johansson, and Johan Lettermacki. I know that Rutherford is aggressive, my man. Whoever this guy is, Fishy Your Checks GM is the guy's name on Cap Friendly. Don't think he's going to pull the trigger on any of those moves. I guarantee that Eagles wouldn't trade.
There's something interesting there that kind of piqued my thinking. With Demko having the injury problem that he has, and Seeloff's playing so well as he has, Pettersson probably wouldn't mind having a guy feeding him there in Vancouver.
You're talking about Marner?
Yeah.
They can't make it work though, Pearlo. They can't make it work, I don't think. I don't think they
would have to have let me see. First of all, you get Demko for sure. No doubt about it. Demko would be in that deal. And then you got a goaltender all of a sudden. And then you would look at a little more expensive guy, but a guy like Connor Garland, I think they could make it work.
So here's what I'll say. I don't disagree. Demko has $5 million left for 2 years. That's not close to. You're going to have to find another $6 million on that cap. Plus,
Garland makes $5 for the next
season. Next season is eating $2.3 million on the Oliver Ekson Larson buyout. The season after, they're eating 4.7. So that's a huge. And they get a little bit of relief with the Tucker Poolman LTIR, but so Vancouver this next season. Here's Rico in the perfect timing. Vancouver this next season is going to have, right as of now, they are going to have about $40 million in cap space. Okay. But I'm sorry, 24-25. I'm off. they're going to have about 23 million in cap space. Okay.
Right.
And they have to re-sign or figure out what they're doing with Bluger, Joshua, Lafferty, Lindholm, Ian Cole, Mark Friedman, Tyler Myers, Nikita Zadorov, and Casey DeSmith. DeSmith walks, I think. They're going to keep Seeloffs. But Seeloffs is an RFA, by the way. So they're going to have to pay him. They also have Philip Ronick as with an RFA with Arbright, so he's going to get paid because his numbers were up there. So
but all that matters is you give up the same amount of money. Garland and Demko would almost be a scratch for the money you're paying.
Right, but Pearlo, that's
and
a
you don't need Lindholm Lindholm anymore. So you're not signing Lindholm.
No, they're probably not going to be able to keep him for sure. But they have 23 million to sign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 roster spots.
If they want to
No, but Pearlo, if you take two guys off their team, okay, and trade them for Marner, we're talking about Marner trades, Rico. That's where you've jumped in. So if you take two guys off their team and they already have 8 roster spots they have to fill, you're just taking 10. Yes, you add Marner. And yes, you could fill with Abbotsford or whatever. But that's
the cap's going up another $5 million. You sign Lafferty and Joshua, and you let everybody else go. You sign Lafferty and Joshua, and you let everybody else go.
Cap friendly takes that into consideration, man. They have $23,777,000 or $778 to re-sign all those guys. If you're trading guys off and you're getting, if you're saying you
already have to do that. So if you trade guys off and you get Marner to play with Pettersson, you can fill out the spots in other ways. I would rather have Marner than any of those guys. So
I don't disagree. I mean, dude, if we're talking about Trotz, somebody said Trotz was aggressive in the chat. I don't think there's a more aggressive. He's not really the GM. Patrick Alvin's the GM, but we know Frank Saravelli said it today that Jim Rutherford makes all the decisions on that team, and all the minutia stuff is handled by Alvin. But I could see them making a big trade. I could see them doing it. I could see, but again, you just had a guy who didn't perform in the playoffs in Pettersson. You're going to add another one in Mitch Marner. Yeah, Tim, we all think he's going to be traded in the summer. Rico, since you're just jumping in, all you've really missed is we talked about Berube. We got to hear your thoughts on Berube, and you're going to have to unmute yourself before you talk. But we got to hear what you think about Berube, and then get the McDonough trade, which led us into the Marner speculation. So unmute yourself and let us know.
It seemed like when Biz was talking about Berube on the panel, on the TNT panel, he kind of made that joke about Berube being in Toronto in a couple of weeks, and he kind of gave that smirk. So it looks like this has been in the works for a little while. I mean, good coach. If you go down the line of who could have coached his team, I mean, there's not a lot. The only problem with coaches won cups is I think there might be 3 of them in history that won a cup on 2 separate teams, and the last one to do it I think was Scotty Bowman. So all the luck to Berube. He's got stuff to work with there. I mean, the Mitch thing, I'm just gonna let that breathe for a bit. I know a lot of people in Toronto were just losing their minds, immediately wanting to run Mitch out of town. So he must be taking a hiatus somewhere, maybe just collecting his own thoughts, because I mean, man, the city was just heated once Toronto's gone. They started just pecking people off with a sniper rifle off that team like they wanted immediately gone. It's not always that easy. So it'll be exciting, man, to just see how quick stuff gets going with Berube finally, after the press conference, sworn in as the new coach of the Leafs. It's exciting. I think a lot of positives more than the negatives. I mean, I keep seeing that video of his speech in the St. Louis Blues locker room going all over Twitter that year they won the cup, and how he's a great motivator, get the guys going. But apparently he'll hold the guys accountable, like the top guys. Like you've seen Jordan Kyrou crying in front of that reporter that night in St. Louis's locker room. I mean, that's Berube. He wants the best for his top guys, and he wants structure from those top guys as well too. You can't just play run and gun and play regular season hockey. You're gonna have to play the same way throughout the year in the playoffs. So be exciting, man. It'll be interesting to see if they do keep Marner. They can go up to him and say, listen, we're not signing you at the end of this year anyway, so we can make this easier on everybody and find a move for you. So, I mean, not so fast, hard to replace a 99-point guy, but we'll see if they can do it via trade, if that's the way they want to go.
Where do you give us the thought where you think he might go and what you might get back for him?
I mean, you're seeing Marner's face out there. We're sitting right beside Seth Jones as a possible trade. And sending him to Chicago to play.
Pearlo said Chicago before you came on. He didn't say Seth Jones, but he said Chicago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Toronto's been looking for that right shot D, some big steady guy back there. I think he'd be a not bad addition in Toronto. Riley hasn't had somebody play with him successfully since Ron Hainsey on the right side. He was still left shot defenseman, so they couldn't never find that person to fit beside Morgan Riley in Toronto, and they're going to have to give up something to get something. You can't just sign a Klingberg and hope his legs don't fall off again. You can't just go after these 1 year, throw it in a hat and see if you can.
I love the Marner for Seth Jones and the cat going by. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think it's a great one. Pearlo convinced me on the Chicago one. I asked Pearlo, do you think he would waive to go there? And he said yes, he thinks he would because of Bedard and stuff. They're probably not as far away. They've got some young defensive talent there coming up, and Korchinski, and obviously their Chicago's going to be high. They're picking number 2 this year, right? So they can go out and get more draft capital. Yeah, I mean, and Seth Jones is, he's kind of wasted there, quite frankly. So, like, if Chicago's rebuilding another year or two, it makes sense.
And they'll have some money too. They'll want somebody that's been in the league a little while to play up front. I mean, Taylor Hall's got hurt. I mean, they tried it with Perry Foligno. Perry didn't work, so they're going to have that kind of money coming off the books well too. Taylor Hall's still there, but whether Foligno comes back for another year and whether they're willing to pay him that type of money to go back there next year.
So Seth Jones is 29, and he's got 9.5 left for quite a while. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. He also has, though, a no movement clause. So he'd have to waive to go to Toronto, too. So it gets complicated when you get into those no move clauses, right?
Why wouldn't you, man? I mean, Toronto's closer to winning a cup than Chicago is. So, I mean, Marner could still grow into that team when they become a contender. Marner will be in his early 30s, and be ready to rock for a couple of years during their cup run once Chicago gets built up.
Tim York thinks Chicago fans would eat Marner alive. Okay, I can't believe they'd be any more vicious than Maple Leaf fans, Tim. I'm sorry about it. Come on, Tim.
The underrated guy on that team is Connor Murphy. He's very underrated defenseman. You can look at that and then maybe add another couple pieces on top of it.
Sure. Well, do you think Bowman would want to make that move too? But, I mean, Marner on the wing of Bedard, I mean, that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. Cool. Plus, you're not really going to a smaller market. I mean, you're going to another Original Six franchise. I don't know, man. So Saad says he thinks Toronto needs to re-sign Bertuzzi. I think that's I could see him and Domi being back there, honestly. But yeah, so it's going to be real interesting. Okay, so Jared broke it off here back a little bit, and we'll get into the conference previews here. And this is the only show this week, guys. It's probably going to get down to 1 day a week, probably Mondays, just because of how busy I am in the summer with everything we got going on here, man. And I know everybody else. Rico got family, got to doing all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be super busy. So probably just Mondays going forward, even through the playoffs. Maybe we'll do a couple live streams or something. We'll figure it out. I just, if it's nice outside, man, I really don't have any time to be inside and doing stuff. So a lot of times I'm listening to the games on the radio if I can, just because it's just really tough. But Jared gave his conference final picks here, and I said we would get to it, and now I got to find it because it's way back there. He says he has Edmonton in 7 games over Dallas, and Florida will win in 6 over the Rangers. So he has an Edmonton, Florida Panthers final. At the beginning of the playoffs, my bracket had Dallas and Florida in the finals. I'm sticking with that. I'm not changing it. Pearlo, what you got?
I'm with you on that. Dallas, Florida. Yeah. I can't see Edmonton beating that Dallas team, and I like Florida. I like Florida's top 9 better than the Rangers. Defense is kind of a wash. I give the Rangers a bit of an edge in goaltending, but I just love two-way players, and the Florida's top 9 are probably the best in the league that way. So.
Okay. And Andrew's letting us know if you're watching the NBA or you're curious, Pacers Celtics are going to overtime, 117. They don't play defense in the NBA apparently anymore, 117 to 117. Oh my God. Tim says Rangers in 6, Dallas in 7, New York wins the cup in 7. I would love it, Tim. My wife would be stoked. Rico, what do you think? You're muted, Rico.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Florida beat Tampa and Boston, but none of them have the all have. None of them are the Rangers. So, I mean, New York had a bit of a tougher time going to 6 games against Carolina in the last series. But I've been betting against the Rangers all playoffs. I mean, it's just tough to not take Florida here. I mean, like the front end, the back end, and the goaltending, you just mix it up from top to bottom. It's going to be a good series, man. I could totally see the Rangers winning this series. Absolutely. It's probably going to go the distance, but held the gun to my head, I'd have to take Florida to win the series. I'll probably take it in 7. No, I don't think this is going to be a 5 or a 6er.
So who do you got?
I'll take Florida in 7.
To beat the Rangers, and who do you got in the West?
The Rangers. Oh, the West, I'm going to take Dallas to beat Edmonton. I don't know if Edmonton takes on Dallas. I mean, Dallas is like Vancouver, but just with better goaltending and just a lot more balance through the lineup as well, too. I mean, they shut McDavid down in that series. That's the thing that scares me. McDavid didn't pop off in that series against Vancouver, so I mean, limit the power play chances against them, and I think Dallas is on a mission here.
Yeah, they have 3 of the 4 guys that have played the most games without winning a Stanley Cup. Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski, and Ryan Suter. The only other guy that's up on that list plays for the New York Rangers, Blake Wheeler. So it's going to be interesting. Real quick, 2 caveat. If you watched any of Florida this year, they're not taking a lot of penalties. They didn't take very many penalties against Boston, and they didn't take very many penalties in the first series against Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, in my opinion, had the best power play in the NHL. So I think that favors the Florida Panthers against the New York Rangers, who I thought feasted, especially in the first half of the series against Carolina. And they absolutely feasted on the Capitals on the power play. So, yeah, I as much as I want the Rangers to win for my wife and for all the Ranger fans, I think New York being in the Cup Finals is really good for the league. It's the number 1 media market in the U.S. here. I kind of agree with you. Okay, so that leads Occupancy to give us your picks. And you're muted, so just let us know.
Yeah, right on. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you, buddy.
Yeah. Right on. No, look, both Florida and New York haven't been letting up a ton of goals. I was just checking under 3 a game in the playoffs here. They're defensive minded, don't need to run and gun, but can if they need to. Yeah, I think New York and Florida are pretty evenly matched up and down. Maybe you look at the back end of Florida and think they have a little bit of higher skill set in terms of the offensive with Forsling and Montour, but I still think it kind of cancels out when you got Trouba and Fox. I mean, they're still just as good. You know what I've been looking at for years with this Florida team is goalie Bob. I've been wondering when he was going back to 3-4 goals a game, and sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. And I ultimately think this series comes down to goaltending. If Igor plays out of his mind and is going 1 or 2 a game, I don't know if goalie Bob can keep that up. I mean, goalie Bob has been good enough, and he's been not doing 3 or 4 a game.
He isn't what he was last year for sure. He's at a 900 save percentage this playoffs. Yeah. He was like 944 last year. He was on otherworld.
And what you said about the penalties and the power play too. I mean, I think if we don't see this New York power play, I think it could even that up. But I don't know. I mean, it's tough to call. I mean, both teams are really good in that one, and I want to see who's a better goalie. I think that's what that one comes down to. In the West, and my bracket in the East was so wrong. I was like completely off. But in the West, I did have Edmonton and Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. So I'm pretty happy that I looked at that one and got it. Here, I heard McDavid has an injury. I don't know if that's true or not. Ultimately, I do think Dallas is, better top to bottom. But I've been saying this on this show for a long time. I think Connor McDavid, Leon, Zach, Darnell, I think they raise the cup. I don't know when, but again, it's like I see those guys raising the cup kind of before I see a lot of the guys on Dallas doing it. So, if Connor's injured, this might not be the year. Obviously, the goaltending advantage goes to Dallas as well. And I think Dallas is built this year to be pretty tough. I mean, they got a lot of pieces up and down the lineup. Contributions left and right. I mean, the Tanev addition, Heiskanen. I mean, this team is stacked. But look, I mean, I was just for shits and giggles, I was just looking at the Evan Bouchard's leading the NHL right now in plus minus in the playoffs. He's a plus 10. Ekholm second with an 8. These guys are playing really well too. So he had to twist my arm, and I had to call it. I probably go Edmonton as a dark horse. I picked them to be in the cup with Carolina, and although I think Dallas is a great team, I'll be the one to maybe stick my head out a little bit, and I'll stick with Edmonton, dark horse in 7, and then maybe Rangers in 7.
So who do you got winning the cup then?
With a
Edmonton Rangers final, which I'm sure the NHL would cream their pants over.
That would be a cool one. Probably Rangers. Probably the Rangers in that one. But I don't even, but twist my arm. I think the East actually will win it. So we'll see.
All right.
You guys obviously talked about Ryan McDonough going to Tampa. You talked about
we
that.
did. Yeah. Do you want to give some thoughts on that? Why don't you just kick off the final thoughts with that? In fact, we'll just go right into that.
Getting them for a couple picks and seeing Tampa when you're thinking maybe they're going to take a step back and just try to retool. Stamkos up in the air, boom, get the guy that basically was a huge staple on our defensive line when we won the cup. Get McDonough back here, boom. That's move A. What a wicked move, man. Love that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tampa's going to be formidable next year. I think the Atlantic, they're going to compete for a top spot there. I think Boston's going to take a step back. I think Toronto's going to take a step back. I think Tampa had a lot of injuries this year. So I totally agree. Occupancy, why don't you give us your final thoughts and we'll let Pearlo finish it off.
Right on. Curious on your predictions too, Beard.
I gave them.
You said
I picked my bracket early in the year. I had the Dallas Stars in the finals against the Florida Panthers. I have Florida winning the cup.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. No, look, final thoughts on the NHL and the show. Make sure you hit the like. Appreciate everyone in the chat. This has been awesome. It's awesome to come on with you guys, and you know how I feel about that. But no, it's a cool season. I think we're really seeing a lot of different pieces in the NHL. If you look up and down the list, I mean, it's still got guys who've been in the league for 10 years. So I think these kids who play a different style aren't dominating yet. They are not the league yet. They're getting there, and it's fun to kind of see. But all these young name players, but they're not the league yet. And I think that'll be a couple years before they get in there. So I like seeing that. I like seeing these guys. 10 years and we're still running the league. That's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight at this point. A lot of buddies being from Long Island are Rangers fans, and I think it'd be good to see them kind of go far. And
oh, you don't want to make fun of them,
dude? I fight that. It's all the time. I mean, they're nonstop talking shit. It's like sometimes I want to throw my phone, like delete them from my contacts and shit. I mean, it's nonstop with those guys. But again, it's also like, the city. I mean, I spent a lot of time going to the city back there. Like
oh yeah, cool. Dude. My wife's a Rangers fan. I'm right there with you. I want to see him do it. The 94, the last time there was a solar eclipse or whatever, all the parallels that are bringing to 94, the fact that Kreider scores a hat trick in the deciding game, Messier scored one. Now Messier's hat trick was in Game 6 of the conference finals, but like, come on, man, like, is that the final score, Andrew? Did the Pacers beat the Celtics? That would be awesome. I'm rooting for the Pacers big time. Oh no, I think it's
no. I mean, it would be good for. I think it would be good for New York. But all these teams haven't made it in 20, 25 years or whatever it's been. But no, all in all, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to see how the playoffs run. The draft's coming up. All of it. I think it's the NHL's kind of sorting itself out and becoming good again. I mean, from kind of some stuff with the lockout and rebuilding after COVID with the bubble and all that. I think NHL's getting back to a really good place.
Yeah, I love it. Pearlo, go ahead, my man. Give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it because Occupancy picked Edmonton over Dallas, and I'm looking at it. It's just it's got to be those top guys that do it. If they're going to go against Dallas doesn't really have that star power, but they've got the depth and they've got much better defense and the better goaltending. So it's interesting that like their bottom six. What do they have? How many goals do they have in their bottom six? Two goals, something like that in their bottom six. And you look at a team like Dallas. I mean, they can hit you all the way through. So it's going to be an interesting series for sure. I'm an Oilers fan, so I hope that.
Hey, to caveat that real quick, Pearlo, just look what Dallas did. They beat the defending Cup champs. They beat the previous year Cup champs in Colorado. And look what McKinnon and Eichel did against Tanev. Nothing. He shut them down.
That'll be my final thought. I personally think if Dallas wins a cup, if it's not Ottinger, for one time, a warrior defense, Tanev has been a freaking beast for that team. You take Tanev off that team, and I bet you they don't make it this far. He has been amazing. He's one of the best defensemen that we have seen for a very long time. Nobody ever talks about him because he's a defensive defenseman. But he is that kind of beast that he's been everything for that team, man. Like, he's been unbelievable. If he were to win the Conn Smythe, it would be freaking awesome. I would love it. He deserves it.
He's blocking like 8 shots a game too, and he's like chewing that bubble gum through the 3 teeth he has in his mouth. Like, his heart rate is so low. It's like, whatever. You know what? he's good in his
8
zone
shots
because
a
the
game,
puck's never in his zone. Like when he plays, like the puck's never in his zone. That's why he doesn't
and he
get
still
tired.
blocks 8 shots a game somehow, and the puck's never in his zone at the same time. It's amazing. The guy has been incredible. He's not getting enough credit. He's been unbelievable. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's my final thought. That's it.
Well, I appreciate everybody that came out tonight. Again, we'll be back next week sometime. I'll keep you informed. I'll let
I might
all-
just come on for fun, for the hell of it, because it is the playoffs. Just to have fun with the guys that are out there.
Yeah, Pearlo, you do your show anytime you want. You can do your show anytime. Just
I think
no
I'll
link
come
to the
on for
chat.
a while, just talk some shit with the guys.
Yeah.
Here, because there's a lot of guys that come on here all the time, and just to have some fun with the guys.
Yep, absolutely. Just as a group, as a collective, it might be a while before we're back together, guys. But I still want to try to do at least one a week through the off season, just to talk stuff. If there's nothing to talk, it's just BS hockey. We could do BS trades, whatever. But I appreciate everybody. Thank you. I got to feed my dogs. They're acting like idiots. So I appreciate everybody. We'll see you. We'll see you when we see you.